Hey everybody, it's Friday afternoon and I managed to get my native tank here cleaned up a little bit last night in anticipation of the weather breaking, and it finally has. We finally got a little bit of sunshine. It's still a little windy, still a little stormy out, but it is nice enough for us to get out and go down to the stream and check out my crayfish trap. I got a new one. I'm going to replace my old one, and I want to show you the difference between the two and why my old one was not catching any crayfish or minnows for us, and why I think the new one will be very successful. I've also got a new dip net that we're going to try out while we're down there. So let's get going, and the next time I will see you, we will be down the street and around the corner. Alright everybody, here we are about a half mile down the street from the house. What this area is the washout from the pipes that come underneath the street. We live about a half mile up the road that way, and this is where I keep the crayfish traps. So give me a moment to get down here to get this out. And we'll see if we don't have anything good in here. Looks like we have one very small crayfish and some leaves and some debris. So this simply unhooks by doing that, and then it comes apart. We'll go have a better look at this. So we got two little crayfish in here. Oh, this one's a soft shell, so I'm not even going to bother putting him in the tank because he would just get devoured almost immediately. So I'll come back and get this taken off of here later, but for now let's just cut this so we can go have a look over here at the truck between the two traps, the old one and the new one, and then we're going to set the new one out in a different location. Alright, this is the one we had in the water, and you can see it's got a pretty simple design. It locks together like so. This goes in there, that goes in there, folds together, and then that actually locks it closed. The idea being that once the crayfish go through this funnel and into the inside, they can't figure out how to get back out. But look at the size of this hole. It's enormous. And it looks like it's a manufacturing defect because I've never seen one with a hole in it that large. This end is the same way. So possibly this was a trap designed for jumbo size crayfish. I'm not sure. But this is the size that I'm used to seeing. That's what the crayfish trap should look like, with this very small hole in it. Now that's going to limit the size of the crayfish that I have come in. I'm not going to get great big crayfish, but I will get minnows swimming in through there that won't be able to get back out, and I will be able to get a lot of smaller crayfish in there that won't be able to simply crawl out through that hole. This is also the net I used to use, and it's still good for catching crayfish. You can actually get this behind them. You can use the hard metal corner there to scoop them up and move rocks out of the way. Good for catching crayfish, not so great for scooping minnows out of deep water. It's got a fairly short handle on it, and it's got a fairly small mouth on it. So this is the net that I've purchased recently. It's collapsible. It has a little locking mechanism here. And then once it opens up, it's got elastic here, so it would not be very good for digging in the bottom or scooping up the crayfish, as I was pointing out, but it's got a great big basket for collecting fish out of the middle and deeper water, and it also telescopes out to 1.7 meters if I unlock both of these. So I mean, even right there I've got great reach for getting out into the middle. So we're going to have a little bit of an experiment with this today, see if we can't catch anything. And once I get the bait set up in this one, we're going to go replace my new trap, but in a different location. Now for bait, what I usually do is I take a little piece of metal wire mesh like this and just fold it up. We're going to take a little piece of hot dog and stick it in there and then fold it back over. And then I suspend it inside the cage so that it's not lying on the bottom. If it was on the bottom, they could come up from the outside and get to it. By suspending it, it forces them to figure out how to get inside the trap to get to where the bait is. So I'm going to get this baited up. And then we're going to go put this one back in the water, and we're going to have a go with this net and see if we can't catch any minnows to bring home with us today. Alright, so that's exactly what I was talking about. Make sure we've got it hung from the top, which is where this is going to connect. This is simply a pin that goes in this side, and then this side is the opposite, and they simply lock together. And then this is just a matter of bringing this clip through both sides, and now it's locked shut, and then these two locks hold together at the bottom. And then of course the cord here is designed to tie it to a nifty tree or something so it doesn't wash away. Take our bait bucket, and we are actually going to head upstream just a little bit. This driveway down here goes up, and there's a house up top, and all this property is theirs. And I know the guy that lives here, and he's given me permission to basically play in the stream down here. So we're going to go, if I can get down here relatively safely. Probably his kids built this dam. See, this might be a good area to try out the net. There's a big school of minnows right there, but we can check them on the way back in. Let's get the crayfish trap set up first, and then we can go from there. There's a pretty deep hole right up here around the bend, and that's where I'm heading. See, there's a bunch of minnows in a little school right there. I don't know how well they're coming out on camera or not. Quite often there's a glare on this camera. So this area up here is where I intend to use this net, but I'm also going to throw out the crayfish trap there. You know what, let's throw the crayfish trap out after we're done. Let's try the net first. Leave that there for the time being. Put a little bit of water in here. Let's get a little cleaner water than that. We want to be able to see what we put in there. I would think that would be far enough out. Let's try it there and see how it works. There's a big school of something small right there. Well, we know it's a cheap net. Just the force of me bringing it through the water bent it, and it's already got a crack there. So it's definitely not meant for fast movement. Well, we caught one. That's better than nothing, I suppose. Now, I've actually seen some fairly large minnows swimming around in here, and today I'm just not seeing them. It could be because we've had a lot of rain over the last few days, and you can see where the water's really sort of clouded up and murky. It's normally crystal clear, so the weather's probably got something to do with it. There's that school of small ones again. Nothing. See, it even bent trying to do that. So I need to bring this through the water so slowly that this is more meant, I think, for collecting fish that you've already caught on a rod and reel. So let's set this one down now and get this one put out somewhere. And I don't see any reason not to just throw it right out where the current is. My hopes for this one is that we will catch some minnows, not so much crayfish. Let's try to get it facing up and down lengthwise in the current there. See how long that stays there. Alright, so we'll come back and check that later. Or at least I will. Don't know if I'll bring everybody with me or not. But let's go see if we can't catch something else with this piece of crap net. I had high hopes for this net, but what do you want for $10? So maybe down here where that school is a little larger, I'll be able to scoop up a little more significant amount of fish all in one go. Especially if I sort of corral them downstream in front of me. So there's a bunch right in here. Yeah, I got my little small handful there, even caught a crayfish. I'm not gonna ever pick them up. So we got one little crayfish. And we got a little darter. Some of these brown striped minnows. I still don't know what they are, but they got that dark stripe down their side. I got several of those. Got another little darter. And that looks like about it. It's a pretty good haul. And it looks like everybody went back into the same area, so let's try that one more time. Nothing that time. And we caught a little minnow. Well, that bluegill is going to have plenty to eat, because that bluegill will definitely eat these smaller minnows that I'm catching. So let's go down here to where the we got a couple of those rosy-sided dace. That's what I was really hoping for. Let's see if we can't catch some more of those, because those are just stunning, beautiful. There we go, there's a couple more. Let's see if we can't scare some more downstream. See where that little school of them went. I don't know. There's probably going to be a good amount right on the other side there. I don't see any, but I know we're going to find some down here. And I'm not seeing any at all now. Oh, there's some. There we go. Got several more, but these are not the rosy side. These are just those little brown minnows. Don't know what they are. And I can see that school heading on upstream. Let's follow it up here a little bit. I lost them now. Alright, well, we've probably got just about enough anyway. And the more I put in that little bait bucket, the more oxygen they're using up, so I really need to get them started making their way back home. So I'm going to call this little part of the video good. Oop, there's some more right there. Oh, we've got two more. Another darter and another one of those brown minnows. Oh well, it looks like at least we got a few of those rosy-side dace. So I'm going to call it good here. We'll head on back over to the truck, and the next time I see you guys, we'll be back in the fish room, and we'll see these fish, what they look like in the tank. Alright everyone. everybody, I figured you've come with me this far. What's another 2 minutes while we drive back up the street? So this is my long drive home from when I come down here to go crayfishing or catching minnows. I just wanted to catch you up to date and let you know I did cheat a little bit. After I was finished filming that last clip, I decided, what the hell, I'll go back upstream one more time. And I went a little further upstream than where we had placed the crayfish trap. And I went around the next bend, and there turned out to be a nice deep little hole right there that had a pretty good size school of fish swimming around in it. So I made a big scoop into there, and I came out with quite a number of fish. And from what I could tell, there was lots of flashes of blues and reds coming out of there. So with any luck, we got a bunch of those rosy side dace. Boy, it looks like I'm getting back just in time. That weather does not look good up there. Alright everybody, here we are. Still got to take my recycling can back up. Still got to get my flat tire fixed. And I will see you in the fish room. Alright everybody, we're getting closer. We are here in the fish room, but we do not yet have the new fish in the tank. I want to try to get them in there, but with the net rather than dumping them in, and it's just going to be hard to do that and get it on film at the same time. So I'm not actually going to get the film of me releasing them, but I did want to at least have a little bit of a look at them in the bucket before we do. I'll give you an idea of what's going in there anyway. 2 crayfish, there's quite a few darters on the bottom. I've got several of those rosy side dace, I don't know how many, and I have several of those little brown minnows like these. Again, I don't know how many, but I'm going to net them and distribute them into the tank with the net rather than just pouring them straight out of the bucket. I'll let everybody get settled in and form into schools and calm down, and in a little while we'll have a look at what this tank looks like with lots and lots of little fish swimming around in it. So sit tight, we're almost there. Alright everybody, there you go. So found out some pretty interesting stuff once I got the fish in the tank, and I'm seeing one now, and I'm afraid that we're not going to be able to see it by the time I get the camera over there, so hopefully I'll remember to mention it when we start talking about all the different stuff we've got in there. So one of the first things I noticed was my little warmouth sunfish swimming around in there. Looked really pale and off color, didn't look right at all, and I was a little concerned about it. And I thought maybe the stress of having all these other fish in the tank might have been what was bothering it. But as it turns out, let me see if I can find him. Well, I don't see him at the moment, but somewhere in here, there he is. I found this little guy. So I was hoping he and the little warmouth would be friends, and they might, you never know. But I think that is a baby bluegill. So I'm thinking about getting rid of this larger bluegill that always hides back here in the corner. Fairly large, fairly aggressive. We'll definitely try to eat some of these smaller fish out of the tank. But I wouldn't mind having a bluegill in the tank that started out as a little baby like this and grew up in the tank, especially if you consider where I caught it. I never even thought bluegills and sunfish of any sort were even in that little stream across the street. I always associate little bodies of water like that with, you know, minnows and stuff, never any sunfish or anything. So it's interesting that I got the sunfish out of there. I got less of the rosy side dace there. You can see that big one right there is the main one with the most amount of color, and then I got 1 or 2 others. I think I have 3 of them in there, and then the rest are these other minnows, whatever they're called. And I have noticed that these very specifically like to stay near the surface when the lights are on, and they like to stay right in front of the spray bar where the current is. So these minnows definitely like being in more fast-moving water, higher oxygenation and faster moving. That seems to be where they like it the most. So we will probably always have a big group of minnows right there in front of the spray bar. We also added a couple of crayfish, and I noticed when I put them in that they were slightly different looking than the virile crayfish that were already in here. So I think we might have more than one species of crayfish in the tank too. Here is one of those little darters. So I have several of these, and I believe these to be the fantail darters. I'm not 100% on that, but I believe them to be the fantail darters. And then I've got some other ones in here that are definitely darters, but look different than that. And of course, now that I'm filming, I don't see any of them. One that I had mentioned when we just started filming definitely looked pregnant. When she was lying on the bottom, lying on a rock, like she looked like she was going to start rocking back and forth. Her belly was so swollen. So that crayfish down there is one that's been in the tank for a while. I've been watching him. He's a really aggressive crayfish. Every time a fish swims nearby, he grabs at it and tries to snatch it right out of the water. So if I'm lucky, I might get some real action from that crayfish if I happen to have my camera in hand. And that's about it as far as I can think of. It's definitely changed the dynamics in the tank again. And everybody's going to have to reestablish where they live. Here's one of those small crayfish that I just caught. And I'm hoping I will be able to get more than one crayfish at a time on video so that I can see the difference between the virile back there and these new ones. And there's another one of those little darters. Let's see if the crayfish goes after it at all. Is it swimming right up to him? I mean, it's practically behind his claw. No, he doesn't. Oh, there we go. Almost got it. You can see the darter against the back glass, so you know the darter made it. Well, there was a little bit of drama, a little bit of action for you. So, alright, I'm going to wrap that up once you account for all of the down the street video that's going to be tied to all this. This is probably going to be a fairly long video. So there's your final look at what it looks like today. You never know, it'll probably look different in another few days. So make sure you're subscribed, that way you don't miss any of the changes that happen with this tank. It should be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of different stuff going on with it over the course of the summer before it settles in, you know, for next winter. We'll have it settled down into something a little more long term. But in the meantime, lots of changes will be happening, so make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss any of those. Again, this is my native tank. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed your day out with me. I'll see you real soon in the next one.